What's happening? Landlord from Alabama here, back with another video. And today, man, we finna talk about why the mighty Dallas Cowboys gonna win this division, hands down, man, in my opinion. First, we gotta talk about all of these subpar opponents that we have. Speaking of subpar, we gotta talk about the New York stinking Giants. Okay, we already know the deal about Danny Dimes Jones, you know what I'm saying? And he's just not the answer in New York, in my opinion. He's been a pretty pathetic quarterback, to say the least. And I'm not threatened at all by Mr. Jones, man. I really feel like he's a liability and he's gonna be the downfall to the New York Giants, man. If you take a look at his numbers from last year, they're pretty pedestrian, man. He had only 2,400 yards. He had 10 touchdowns with 7 interceptions. So that's just really ridiculous, man. You can obviously see that he's not gonna be the answer over there in New York. And when you look at the draft picks they added, they got Evan Neal, so maybe he could produce a little more time for Daniel Jones. But at this point, I really just think Daniel Jones probably just too far gone and basically a bust. One of the worst picks they done made in recent years, man. So, okay, let's move on to the running back position. Then you got Saquon Barkley. Everybody understands that he's a wonderful talent. He got all the talent in the world, but he just cannot beat the health bug. He cannot stay on the field. So that's just a bad luck of the draw from the Giants, man. They spent the quality top 5 pick on a running back, which is not the smartest thing to do, even though our Cowboys did the same thing. But now NFL teams are getting a little more smarter about how they use their draft picks. They definitely won't pick a running back top 5 and, you know, that high in the first round anymore. I think those days are definitely gone and dead. I think it's over with for teams to spend that quality of a pick on a running back going forward. He only had a little over 500 yards rushing, so that's just not gonna get it. You know, they did have Jason Garrett over there for a minute. They fired him, and it's just gonna be a struggle for the New York Giants still, in my opinion, because they don't have a decent quarterback. When you think about Daniel Jones versus Dak Prescott, that's just not going in their favor. For the most part, man, the Giants still in a struggling situation, if you ask me. So let's move on to the Washington Commanders. They got the longest name in letter-wise in the NFL, in my opinion, but they brought back the boy Carson Wentz. Back to the NFC East he come, in a Washington uniform, you know, the ugly burgundy and gold and white, in my opinion. Nothing compares to that silver and blue. But let's get into the quarterback himself. Everybody in the NFC East knows Carson Wentz. We know all of his tendencies. He was in the NFC East for long enough, so we are very familiar with this guy. We understand that he gets very rattled in pressure situations, man. You got Trayvon Diggs being his #1 receiver. He just couldn't find a better receiver when he played with the Eagles. Even though Trey was in a bad defense, he still was picking out Carson Wentz consistently. So let's just start there. Now you got Carson Wentz coming to the NFC East, dealing with this potentially dominant type defense that we had last year under Dan Quinn. Carson Wentz has not seen this at all, so he got a rude awakening coming his way, man. He got to see this new sheriff in town and Michael Parsons. It's just going to be a lot of stuff that he's not aware of or ready for coming his way. So let's talk about their other strengths. They got a strong defensive line. I can't lie about that. They got Jonathan Allen and, you know, Chase Young. They got a lot of dominant pieces on this defensive line. So that's the strongest suit they have. But when it comes to the secondary, I feel like they can be had in the secondary. I feel like they could have upgraded a lot in the secondary. But we could talk about their new weapons. You know, they did get Jahan Dotson in the draft. I believe he could be a potentially good player, but You got Scary Terry there as well, and you can have all the weapons you want to, man, but when you got inconsistent quarterback play, it doesn't matter who you got on those receiving positions, man. It just don't matter. If Carson Wentz still rattled and still scared back there in the pocket, man, it's gonna be a long day for the Washington Commanders. I just feel like Washington still hasn't done enough. Then they have an inconsistent quarterback in Carson Wentz. I'm just not afraid. I'm not worried. I have faith in my Dallas Cowboys to easily destroy these guys, man, the Washington Commanders. Now, let's talk about the filthy Philadelphia Eagles. I can't lie, they probably the biggest threat we have in the division, but they also have quarterback inconsistency. They don't have a solidified star in a quarterback. Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback, but is he good enough to get you to the next level? Is he going to be able to take advantage of all of these weapons that they done acquired for him? Is he going to be able to utilize Devontae Smith deep down the field, the Slim Reaper, what we used to call him at Bama? Is he going to be able to get this man the ball? Is he going to be able to utilize A.J. Brown in the correct way and actually become a threat down the field when you facing pressure every now and then? Can Jalen Hurts stop running right every time he get pressure and just want to turn into a running back? There's a lot of questions when it comes to Jalen Hurts. So I'm not too concerned with the Eagles offense only because of Jalen Hurts. But they do have Miles Sanders at running back. He's a nice running back. He reminds you of Tony Pollard a little bit. Very shifty, very quick. So they do have a nice offense. That offensive talent can lift Jalen Hurts up a little bit, but I feel like it won't be able to catapult them over the mighty Dallas Cowboys and young Ryan Dakota. We still would be the better team, regardless of what the media and everybody else want to say. You can timestamp this, you can book this, that the Cowboys will be the back-to-back NFC East champs. In my book, Landlord said it, so you can, I stand on that. I'm 10 toes down. I'm hollering off the rooftop that the mighty Dallas Cowboys will be the NFC East champs again and go into the playoffs and hopefully make some noise for once, because we've been struggling in that aspect for the last few years, and we're going to have to correct that. Hopefully we can get that job done next year. But you know, a lot of times us Cowboys fans, man, we get so caught up in the other people and the grass being green on the other side. And then we fail to realize what kind of weaponry and what kind of team that we have. We are not a bad team, and this team is not solely dependent upon the offense like we usually be back in the days and all the last seasons that we've been a part of. We actually have a decent defense that can actually help the offense. We're not solely dependent upon Dak. It's not all about if he do good or if he do bad. We got Dak Prescott some help, so it's not solely on his shoulders. We have close to the most complete team that we done had in a lot of years, man, last year and this year. I like the direction that we're going in. So with all that being said, I feel like we have a good offense and a good defense. And that right there solidifies us as the most solid team in the NFC East, and we'll be crowned the champs. But that's all I got for you today, man. Just holla at your boy, Landlord from Alabama, with the same handle. And like I say, 1K, one love, Cowboys Nation. Let's go.